The moment you stand in front of any cash machine in Britain today, the screen in front of you has changed in ways most older people have not been told. One single button on that screen can now trigger a sequence of checks, holds, or even temporary blocks on your own money that did not exist for the majority of pensioners only a short while ago. This is not a rumor circulating on social media. It is the practical result of tightened bank fraud protocols, the Financial Conduct Authority's access to cash rules that came into force in September 2024, and the quiet raising of security thresholds that many high street banks have applied to accounts belonging to customers aged 60 and above. If you normally press the same buttons you have pressed for years, stop. The button that used to give you a simple cash withdrawal without further questions can now send a quiet alert to the bank's fraud team. That alert can freeze the rest of the day's withdrawals, force you to answer security questions by telephone, or require you to visit a branch with photo identification before any larger amount is released. For someone who relies on cash for the weekly shop, the window cleaner, the market stall, or the neighbor who helps with the garden, that delay is not a minor inconvenience. It is the difference between having money in your hand and standing empty-handed while the machine tells you the transaction cannot be completed. Banks are not legally required by government to impose a single nationwide daily limit solely because of age. That claim has been repeatedly shown to be false by the regulator itself. Yet almost every major bank has lowered or more strictly enforced its own standard ATM limits, typically between £300 and £500 a day, and has introduced extra verification steps once an account shows a pattern of cash use that the computer flags as unusual. For many pensioners, the pattern is not unusual at all. It is simply the way they have always managed their money. The computer does not know that. It only knows that a larger cash request has appeared on an account belonging to someone over 60. The button you must treat with extreme caution is the one that asks whether you want a higher amount or whether you wish to continue without a receipt. Selecting the higher amount option or choosing to proceed without a paper record is now more likely to trigger the secondary check. Some machines also present a mini statement or balance inquiry option before the cash menu. Pressing either of those first can cause the machine to log an additional inquiry against your card. In a small number of cases, that inquiry has been enough for the system to treat the subsequent cash request as higher risk. The safest sequence is the shortest one. Insert the card, enter the PIN, select cash only, choose an amount within the daily limit you already know your bank allows, take the money and the card, and walk away. Do not linger on extra menus. Do not accept any offer of a higher limit that appears on the screen. Do not press the button that says other services or more options. Those paths are where the new monitoring systems are most active. These changes sit on top of the wider access to cash regime. Banks and building societies are required to make sure free cash points remain available within a reasonable distance of most communities. That is the good news. The less good news is that the number of free machines has still fallen, many branches have closed, and the remaining machines are more heavily monitored. Independent ATMs that charge a fee are still legal, provided a free alternative exists nearby, yet the signage warning of the charge is sometimes small and easy to miss. Pressing the confirm button on a charging machine when you believed the withdrawal was free is another way money can leave your account without you realizing until later. Some of those charging machines also operate with older software that interacts differently with the new fraud filters, increasing the chance of a declined transaction even when you stay inside your daily limit. Fraud teams have also become more aggressive about large or repeated cash withdrawals. If you try to take out more than the daily ATM limit, or if you attempt several withdrawals close together, the account can be placed on a temporary hold. The hold is lifted only after you confirm your identity, sometimes by telephone, sometimes in person. For an older person living alone, without a mobile phone that works reliably, or without easy transport to the nearest open branch, that process can take hours or even a full day. During that time, the money that was meant to pay the heating bill or the carer remains locked. The bank will tell you the hold is for your protection. That may be true in cases of genuine fraud, but it does not help when the system has simply misread a normal pattern of cash use by someone who has never used online banking and prefers notes in the hand. There is a practical way to reduce the risk. Before you next stand at a machine, telephone your own bank and ask 2 direct questions. First, what is the exact daily ATM limit on my account? Second, has any additional verification step been added for cash withdrawals on accounts of my age or usage pattern? Write the answers down. Keep the note in your purse or wallet. When you reach the machine, you will know the maximum safe amount and you will not be surprised by an unexpected refusal. If you need more than the daily limit, arrange the larger sum in advance by telephone or by visiting a branch. Most banks will release higher amounts once they have spoken to you and noted the reason. Ask them to place a temporary increase on the account for a specific date if you know you will need more cash that week. Do this during normal working hours when staff are available, not late in the evening when only automated systems are operating. Some pensioners have already found themselves in difficulty because they assumed the old rules still applied. One woman in her late 70s withdrew £400 on a Monday and another £400 on the Tuesday for a family event. The second withdrawal was declined. She spent the afternoon on the telephone trying to prove she was not a victim of fraud. Another man pressed the balance inquiry button first, then selected cash. The machine retained his card. It took 3 working days and a branch visit to recover it. A third person, living in a rural area where the nearest free machine is several miles away, used a charging ATM because the free one was out of service. The fee was deducted, the withdrawal was flagged, and the following day, every further attempt was blocked until identity was confirmed in person. These are not dramatic, isolated cases. They are the everyday consequence of systems designed to protect against scams that now also catch ordinary cash users. The pressure on cash is real. More shops and services prefer cards. Some refuse notes altogether. At the same time, the government and the regulator insist that cash access must be protected. That tension is what has produced the current landscape of tighter limits, extra questions, and more sensitive fraud flags. The button that once simply dispensed notes can now open a chain of automated checks. Knowing which button to avoid and which sequence to follow is no longer optional knowledge. It is the difference between leaving the machine with the money you need and leaving it frustrated and empty-handed. You should also know that the daily limit is not always the same across every machine belonging to the same bank. Some older machines still run slightly different software and may enforce a lower amount than the figure your bank quoted on the telephone. If the machine refuses an amount you know is within your limit, do not keep trying higher or lower figures in the hope it will work. Each declined attempt can add to the risk score the system is building against your card. Take the card out, walk away, and use a different machine or return the next day after speaking to the bank again. Repeated declines in a short period are one of the fastest ways to trigger a full temporary freeze. Keep a simple written record of every cash withdrawal you make for the next few weeks. Note the date, the amount, the location of the machine, and whether any extra message appeared on the screen. If a problem arises later, that record becomes useful evidence when you speak to the bank. Many older customers have found that staff are more willing to lift a hold quickly when the customer can show a clear pattern of normal use rather than relying on memory alone. If you share an account with a spouse or partner, check whether the limit is applied to the account as a whole or to each card separately. Some banks treat joint accounts as a single limit, which means one person withdrawing close to the maximum can leave the other unable to take cash the same day. Clarify this in advance so you can plan who will withdraw and when. The machines themselves have also changed in small ways that are easy to overlook. Some now display a longer list of warnings before the cash menu appears. Reading every line carefully is wise, but do not press any button that offers additional services while you are still trying to obtain cash. The goal is to keep the transaction as simple and short as possible. Insert, PIN, cash, amount within limit, take money and card, leave. That sequence remains the safest path through the new monitoring systems. For those who live in areas where free machines are scarce, the situation is more difficult. The access to cash rules require banks to review local provision and fill gaps where necessary, yet the process takes time. In the meantime, using a post office counter for larger withdrawals can be a more reliable option because staff can apply human judgment rather than an automated score. Take identification with you, know the amount you need in advance, and arrive early enough in the day that the counter is still open. Do not rely on the machine to tell you everything you need to know. The screen will not explain that your particular account has been placed in a higher monitoring category. It will not warn you that 3 declined attempts in 1 week may result in a longer hold next time. Only a direct conversation with your bank can give you that information. Make the call, ask the questions, write the answers, then approach the machine with the knowledge that protects you. The rules have not banned cash. They have simply made the act of withdrawing it more carefully watched. One wrong press is now enough to turn a routine errand into a day of anxiety. Avoid that press. Stay within the limit you have confirmed. Keep the transaction short, and the machine will still give you the notes you came for. The money is still yours. The system has simply become more suspicious of the way many older people prefer to collect it. Knowing the difference between the old habits and the new risks is the only reliable way to keep control of your own cash in 2026.